Salve to your names, I am Ruminus, and today we're doing a review for Sundered, which takes place in some Lovecraftian hell realm where everything wants to murder your face. There are some fantastical and physics-defying elements to the buildings, but the creatures have a bunch of tentacles and pointy bits. While wandering around in the desert, some big hands pummel the main character, Ash, into this horrid dimension, and so with the help of a clearly beneficial, not demonic at all, living blade, asks us to kill everything in order to get out. Players used to roguelites will probably get this done faster than others, but in general expect 10 to 15 hours of gameplay for the first run. The controls are very consistent. There are rare times where the jump or dodge will be ignored, but if I was technically immortal, I wouldn't be so hard-pressed to dodge either. The game's precision allows the players to cancel any action immediately and also repeat practically instantaneously, as most actions take about half a second to complete. Dying is actually just teleporting back to the home base, so there's no impediment to getting back into the beatdowns, but it does get obnoxious in the second area particularly because it has more twists and turns than the labyrinth. The game is extremely reactive with no latency except for the power attacks, which are supposed to have a build-up. We all know that half the power from anything comes from the grunt. Outside of the wall run, all actions are used frequently throughout the entire game. The levels are designed to have options for each power-up and attack. Despite the wall run, all actions are useful, either in simple movement or panicking while the hordes of the Netherlands come to get your autograph. Some actions are more useful in the beginning due to the speed or stamina, but there are upgrades and perks to offset the drawbacks. The game gives full autonomy to the player. The game specifically tells that you can do your own thing and go to each area. However, the difficulty is certainly scaled in each area, making it nearly impossible to roam the skyscrapers without getting immolated by a jellyfish, which is precisely why I never visit New York. Jellyfish everywhere, looking to ambush outsiders. The character moves fast enough to move across each room in seconds, although the pits and constant bramble really make it annoying to even breathe in the second area. The attacks come out quickly enough to counter, and the dodge moves far enough away to escape the brutal beatdowns. The view is 2D side-scrolling fixed on the character at the bottom. The game will pan out or zoom when some big dudes come to wreck your day, but the normal view is enough to see far enough around for secrets, enemies, and pathways. The game grows in difficulty and setting as each area has different styles and pathways, but the levels themselves have the same requirements. The enemies are different in each area, and the deeper sections will have enemies with stronger stats and anger management issues. The game flows linearly, but quickly enough to keep the attention. The levels are all unique to each other in the platforming, and the enemies will have different movesets to match the area and make the player adapt. The game is decently difficult, but definitely outpaces the player in the second area, but can be quickly outpaced by the player at the third. The second area can thus get very frustrating as the environmental hazards increase beyond measure, everything pummels you within a few hits, and the area is annoying to navigate for the fourth time as hordes constantly give you a surprise birthday party. Having the enemies scale with the player's upgrades would be a great addition to make the world feel alive and also create the actual explore as you wish setting that they claimed you can do. The game is sustainable for most players. The story is just enough to keep your attention, but the environment is unique and the gameplay has enough to mix it up that does not become overly repetitive. The story revolves around if the voice inside your head telling you to put glitter glue in the neighbor's car was also a sword. The glowing black and red entity ensures you that you need him, will never do better than him, and he can save you if you only get him the lost Eldritch shards for him and kill all of his enemies. The player can destroy these glowing, terrible shards, and your sword gets very upset about it. It is a generic story and nothing is wrong with it, but it doesn't do anything spectacular either. One really good thing about the endings is that there's actually 3 different ones. One for helping the swordy demon, another for rejecting him, and a final one for kind of doing a mix of both. The final boss is different for each one, and there are different outcomes, so there actually is a reason to try playstyle rather than just having a color-flavored ending. The music in the game is subtle, but enough to give that lost, ethereal feeling. The music will ramp up when the swarms of jellyfish come to collect their debts, or the bosses get upset at your very existence, but it all matches with the theme intensity of the setting. The sounds are unique from the music and don't clash, while being realistic where needed, and very slimy and creepy when activating the demon powers. The light side powers are all flame and fires, which is just what I need to purge this demon dimension of sinners and monsters. The game is heavily reliable. Each area will have 3 mini-bosses, 1 big daddy, 2 skills, and a hidden shard piece. Each area also has unique platforming and obstacles. The game has various manipulatives. There are perks with advantages and disadvantages, permanent upgrades, temporary upgrades, and skills or tools for some sick airtime. only the perks can be removed, otherwise the manipulatives are permanent. There are also various shortcuts that can be activated for quicker retracing after getting mauled. For assistive, the game gives full invulnerability during a dodge, allows the player to keep all money after death, and resets the double jump after an aerial attack. For detrimental, the game has plenty of bramble to slow down your movement and do far more damage than any enemy, and the bosses crank up to survival mode speeds and aggression when at 25% health. There is a decent amount of level design to make the areas easy to navigate, even though the sections have random configurations. There will be obvious markings or landmarks as to where the exit will be for most of the time. Sometimes it is difficult to navigate when everybody in existence is trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty, but that's also intentional to make it stressful when going for the upgrade areas. The game is pretty intuitive. The map will show some upgrades nearby, but nothing is ever easy in hell, and these are clearly shortcuts on your way out, and so you can't use them in the beginning. Anything needing a skill will be pretty clearly marked by the environment, and the darker colored versions of monsters are the stronger types. The game is entirely designed around the atmosphere. All the skills, upgrades, powers, enemies, and shifting landscapes are explained by the ancient demons and the war with humans. How Esh is so athletic and acrobatic is never explained, so the obvious answer is that she's a lost gymnast from the Cirque du Soleil. It happens from time to time. There is a very short tutorial in the beginning which can be pretty much skipped. The player can speed through everything without reading the explicit text to teach the controls. All the basic controls are taught and shown of their importance. For each new skill, the game will take away control for about 2 seconds to do the skill automatically, then allow the player to do the thing. The UI is small but easy to navigate. The options are clearly defined and clearly organized for efficiency. The UX is similarly designed, where the backgrounds are set behind and often have completely different colors or shading. The upgrades are all glowing and have different colors to easily differentiate them. The visual style of the game is creepy and unsettling, and so the proportions and designs of the world and monsters are bonkers. The graphics are beautifully done, although not extremely detailed, although I don't need to see any more details on these squid monsters. They're creepy enough. The animations are fluid, expressive, and a delight to see. The jellyfish are actually 3D, and while they look good, their movements and style clash with the environment. There is enough design to make the game accessible, although the stress and constant attacks may make it problematic for anybody with disabilities in computation or reactions. The different difficulties make the game much more lenient, and so these problems may be resolved by that. Most colors are in the purple, red, and black hues, which should not cause issues with colorblindness, but anybody struggling with purple will probably have issues. The text is similar to Arial, and so should be legible for anybody with dyslexia. The sounds are soft but very helpful for knowing when groups are coming and what types of enemies, which can cause an issue for anybody with hearing impairment, as they will be at a clear disadvantage. For final score, I give the gameplay control 56 out of 60, gameplay aspects 48 out of 60, story 3 out of 5, sound 10 out of 10, mechanics 61 out of 70, tutorial 10 out of 10, UI UX 10 out of 10, visuals 19 out of 20, and accessibility 4 out of 5. Overall, I give Sundered a 5 out of 5. It is a delightful action-adventure game. The environments, art style, and upgrades are all unique and fun to play. The atmosphere is unsettling, but not horror. It plays wonderfully and does not overstay its welcome by the end. Anybody interested in action, adventure, Metroidvania-ites, or roguelikes should look into this game.